So, here's what happened to Zhen Shirin's daughter, Xiangling, also known as Xiangling. She got caught up in the whole mess with Shui Pan. He had to pay fines and was locked up. But guess what? He was released under a general amnesty. Then it seems like he had a change of heart. His original wife had already kicked the bucket, and he was the one who did her in, if you catch my drift. So, he decided to marry Xiangling, and they seem to be living happily ever after. But then, tragedy struck. Xiangling had a rough time giving birth and sadly didn't make it. She left behind a little bundle of joy for Shui Pan though, a son. Zhen Shirin, being the caring father that he is, said he'd go and guide his daughter's spirit to the afterlife. It was his last bit of unfinished business, you know? Anyway, let's not get too deep into all this drama. So, what's going on with Yucun? He's all spaced out and ends up dozing off in a little shack by the ferry crossing on the rushing Jia River. Crazy, right? He's in such a deep sleep that no one can wake him up. It's like he's reached some kind of higher level of being, like they talk about in Taoism. You know, in Taoist history, there's this guy named Chen Tuan. Legend has it that he could sleep for months on end without croaking. Pretty wild, huh? When you've reached a certain level of enlightenment, these Taoist figures become real-life superheroes. Now, I'm not sure if the whole months-long sleep thing is just a myth or not, but who knows? Maybe there's some truth to it. In any case, it seems like Jia Yucun has achieved that same state. Pretty mind-blowing, if you ask me. In the final part, Kongkong comes across Xiangling Peak again and sees the stone that was supposed to fix the heavens still there, untouched. The inscriptions on it are the same as before. He reads it again carefully and finds that there are additions after the verses. There are a bunch of discussions about how things turn out for the characters. But what does it mean? Well, it's all about the next and last 40 chapters of the book. So, after finishing the original story, what should be done with these final 40 chapters? They need to have a solid place in the book, right? Before, there were only 80 chapters. Now, with this extra discussion after the verses, it hints at added content providing the resolution of various relationships and outcomes. Kongkong agrees and sighs, saying, "This incredible story of the stone should be shared with the world. I had previously copied it down, but it is not complete. The ending hasn't been properly wrapped up at the time. I had wondered when we'll have more amazing tales like this, suggesting that there might be more to come in the last 40 chapters. Only now I feel content that the stone's journey in the mortal world, his enlightenment and everything, is complete without any regrets. Over time, the inscriptions might fade and have errors. So now I write it down again, with the proper ending, and find someone in this world who has the time to spread it to everyone." So, he finally found somebody. He goes to this lively and prosperous place, with the stone tucked in his sleeve. He looks around and realizes that there are only two types of people in this world: those who strive for success and those who are just trying to make ends meet. There's no in-between. And that got me thinking, which category do I, Wang Defeng, fall into? After some reflection, I come to the conclusion that I'm not the one who aims for greatness, but rather I'm just trying to get by. We can't be the go-getters or the fighters, so we might as well focus on surviving. Then, he finally finds someone. He reaches Jiliu Ferry and spots a person snoozing in a straw hut. Figuring this, GE decides to show him the transcribed Dream of the Red Chamber. But darn it, the guy won't wake up. Kongkong has to shake him and tug him until he slowly opens his eyes and sits up. Quick as a flash, the person takes a glance at the book and tosses it away. I, myself, have personally witnessed this whole thing, and I assure you, your transcription is spotless. Let me make it clear, find one person to entrust the book to, and have him pass it on. That'll wrap up this intriguing case. In a rush, Kongkong asks who this person is. And the fella says, you need to go to Chuhong Chamber on a specific date, find a Mr. Chao Shuachin, and tell him Jia Yucun sent you. With that said, the man goes back to sleep, and Jia Yucun keeps on snoozing. The whole purpose of this encounter was to lead Kongkong to whom? Chao Shuachin. Kongkong remembers these words like it's the gospel truth and wonders, man, how many lifetimes and hardships have gone by. And sure enough, he finds this place Chuhong Chamber, where he sees Mr. Chao Shuachin chilling there, flipping through all those old manuscripts. So, Kongkong drops Jia Yucun's request on him before showing him the story of the stone. And guess what? Mr. Shuachin is aware it's totally Jia Yucun's request. Kongkong is like, yo, how do you recognize this guy and are you down to pass on the message? Mr. Chao Shuachin smirks and says, bro, your mind is as empty as advertised. Jia Yucun's request is full of contradictions and absurdities. Let's just have a good time with like-minded folks, eat and drink, and forget about all that fancy recognition stuff. And he even makes fun of Kongkong's tireless search, comparing it to trying to fix a point in the water by making a mark on the boat, and sticking to old ways in the face of changed circumstances. Kongkong cracks up, man. He tosses down the manuscript aside and goes away, saying, this is all just a bunch of superficial and ridiculous nonsense. The author doesn't even know, the scribe doesn't know, and the readers sure don't know. It's all just a game of words for fun and self-expression. And you know what? Even later generations got in on the fun and wrote 4 lines as the supposed inspiration for the author. What were those lines, you ask? Pages full of absurdities, tears of bitterness on the face. They all call the author a fool, but who really understands the essence within? Now, let's switch gears to Zen Buddhism for a hot minute. They say, one more step up on a 100-foot pole. Let's talk about the bitterness and absurdity, man. This dream ain't just for the characters in Dream. It's for all of humanity. We're all dreaming the same dream, so let's not laugh at each other. We're all in the same boat, you know? Dream might seem like it's only about those characters, but in reality, it's about all of us. It's like the same dream we're all sharing, so let's not mock the obsession of the world. This final poem is like the perfect companion to the earlier one, wrapping up the whole book. So, yeah, Gao Yi's continuation of the last 40 chapters has its pros and cons. This kind of ending is pretty dope, right? Sure, there are some flaws in the content, like the revival thing, but hey, Mr. Chao Shuachin said it, it's only a story, and the characters are fictitious. We're all just living in this world, man, and everyone is dreaming the same dream. So, let's not clown on each other. We're all in this together. Dream of the Red Chamber has become a shared dream for all Chinese people, and it's still going on in its obsession. So, let's not mock the foolishness of the world. Our lesson ain't finished yet, my friends. Actually, there's still the final part, the overall assessment of the characters in Dream of the Red Chamber.